Hi, it's Rachel with Mojo again, and today I'm going to go over loose leash walking techniques with you. Now, since we're here in a fairly calm setting, Mojo is a little tired out from playing all day, and we're not really going anywhere that exciting. He's comfortable with these surroundings. He's probably not going to pull much on the leash, but if he does, I want to show you how to correct that. We have two methods that we like to use that seem to work very well with the dogs, and so it's just a matter of finding out which he responds to the best and which is the best for your situation. Now, for loose leash walking, it's something that you should practice both methods at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. So try to take Mojo for a walk at least that long every day, and never let him get away with pulling on a leash, because once I teach you these two methods, I will teach him too, so he'll know them and he'll know what is expected of him. If you practice a lot like that and never let him get away with pulling on a leash, then it will just build his basic leash manners to where he will know to never pull on a leash when he gets one on. Now, I know you do have Mojo and Layla, so I would suggest working with them separately on the loose leash walking and before you put them together. That way they both know the commands well. You can correct each dog individually, and they will know more of what is expected of them on leash once they're together. That gives them a chance to kind of make it a habit and just natural for them to walk nicely on a leash before you put them on it together. Now, if you walk them together right away, then maybe Layla's pulling and Mojo's not, and so you're correcting her, but he also gets correction even though he's not doing anything wrong. Of course, our correction is not mean and it's not bad for the dog, but it could be confusing for Mojo if he's not doing anything and then he gets corrected for it. Also, with dogs, they definitely have a pack mentality, and so they get a lot more excited with the more of them that there are. So having them together will make them more difficult to handle than either one of them separately. So that's why it's good to practice it individually and make sure they're solid on loose leash walking individually before you try to walk them together. And that will make your life easier and it will be more beneficial for them. Alright, with that lengthy introduction over with, I'm going to show you how to do the first technique of loose leash walking, which we call the back method. Now, what we do for the back method is say we're walking forward. As soon as Mojo starts pulling on the leash, you plant your feet and stop, and you can snap your fingers or pat your leg and say, Mojo, back. And as you can see, he comes right to me and we have some nice slack in the leash. Now, when you're walking him on a leash, give him the full leash so that he has plenty of room to walk around and explore. He can sniff whatever he wants. And even if he's this far away from me, I still have a nice loose leash and he's not pulling. But by giving him the full leash, that lets you know when he does pull, when the leash gets tight and your arm goes out. So, you just stop walking, plant your feet in case he pulls even harder, and say, Mojo, back. And he responds really well, and then you have this nice slack in your leash, and you can continue just like that. Now, Mojo's not really pulling here because he's, nothing is too interesting in this area, and we're not really going anywhere too exciting. But I'll try walking him around a bit. Okay, now he's pulling. Mojo, back. And just like that, he responds. He doesn't come all the way to me, but he does get some nice slack in this leash, which is what we want to see. So that's really good. Mojo is super smart and very responsive, so it makes it really easy for me to teach him this. So now I'm just going to walk him around and practice so I can show you what this back method looks like in a normal walking setting. Come on, Mojo. Mojo, back. Good boy. Mojo, back. Good boy. All right, that was very good. He was not pulling on me too tight, but he was walking fast enough to get the leash a little taut, and so I was able to show you. Now you just stop, pat, and say Mojo back, and as you can see, he responds very well to that. Now for loose leash walking, we don't normally use treats because the treat is that you get to continue walking. And you don't want to use a treat to distract him to make him walk better. So if he's pulling, you don't want to say, Mojo, Mojo, come here, and give him the treat like that, because then you are reinforcing the pulling. You aren't really making him correct the behavior, you're just distracting him to give him a treat. And that, in his mind, comes across as he gets a treat for doing whatever he wants and pulling, instead of using the treat to bait him back. So this way it teaches him to walk loosely on the leash, that as soon as that leash gets tight, he has to stop and come back to you. And he'll start to pick that up eventually. Alright, now the next method that we do is called the reverse method. With the reverse method, what you do is as soon as he starts pulling, say we're walking this way, and he pulls, so my arm is out like this, you just turn 180 degrees and you give the leash a little tug or a little wiggle and say, Mojo, this way, and start walking in the other direction. Now, you don't have to yank him around. It just requires a little bit of a tug or a jiggle just to get his attention. And when he sees you walking the other way, he's going to go that way to follow you. A lot of times our first instinct when a dog is pulling is to pull back on them. You don't want to do that because, first of all, sometimes it feels like a game to the dog and they just want to keep pulling more. If they feel like they're being restrained, it could kind of increase their sense of urgency of going a certain way, causing them to pull more. Also, it makes it more difficult for you, and you don't want to have to get an arm workout on your walk with Mojo. And also, you don't want lots of pulling to cause any damage to his larynx or his throat over a prolonged period of time. So that's part of why loose leash walking is so important. And when you turn around, you don't have to drag him around. Just a little jiggle of the leash to get his attention, or some light tugs. Just a couple light tugs is more effective because then he can feel the difference. If you're just pulling on him and he's fighting against his constant pressure, it's not really a correction. By just doing a couple of tugs, it catches his attention. Then he recognizes that as different than a loose collar, and he recognizes it as a correction. So, I'm going to walk around with him some more and show you what the reverse method looks like. So come on, Mojo. Mojo, this way. Mojo, this way. Good boy. All right. He, like before, he wasn't really pulling bad to begin with, but already just by doing that a few times, I noticed that he's looking at me a lot more, and he's a lot more attentive to me. So that's what I like to see. It lets me know that he's really paying attention, and what I'm doing is sinking in for him. As you can see, it's super easy to just go back and forth like that, and he responds really well to it. Now, like I said earlier, it's important to practice this loose leash walking 20 to 30 minutes a day so that he really gets it. Now, if you're just out for a walk and you don't have a certain destination, it works fine to do the reverse method. If you're going into a specific location, say you're taking him to the vet, or once you get back from your trip, you're taking him into daycare, the reverse method can kind of take a while. If he's excited and he keeps pulling, if you have to keep on walking back and forth, it can take you a while to get to the door. So that's why the back method is really good, because it just kind of pauses your walk. It doesn't change directions. However, it is important to practice both on a normal walk and see which he responds best to, and like I said, see which is best for your situation. Like right now, he is pulling on the leash a little bit, so let's just try Mojo back. Good boy. Very responsive to that. And we have this nice loose leash to walk on. Alright, I hope this helps, and remember to practice this with both Mojo and Layla separately before you expect both of them to do it together. Like I said earlier, if one of them is pulling, the other isn't, and they both get the correction, that's especially true for the back method. Because if one started pulling with one hand and the other is walking like this, if you say this way and turn around, it's of course not a punishment for the one that isn't pulling, but it is a correction. They'll get used to only getting that to correct their behavior, and if they aren't doing the behavior to deserve the correction, then that can be kind of confusing for them. Anyway, I hope this helps. This was Rachel and Mojo, and we are working on loose leash walking.